please welcome the Indiana Jones of wine, Pat McGovern.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm delighted to be here, of course. The ideal venue, I would say, for talking about wine in London. And this is a topic that's very dear to my heart, my research, and also my palate. Because in order to understand ancient wine, you also have to taste some modern wines. And so the combination of the two, I think you'll see, is very effective. So I'm going to speak about Turkey as the possible birthplace of ancient wine. And for those of you who have been to Turkey, and I presume quite a few of you in this audience have been, you are probably quite familiar or have been to the Museum of Anatolian Civilizations in Ankara. It's like the largest collection of wine-related artifacts probably in the world, all under one roof. And so we would have wine sets going back to the 3rd millennium BC, like these at Alaçatı out in central Anatolia, which probably represent parts of a wine set, the jug and the chalice. And then the wine culture, as I'll refer to it, just sort of strengthens as you go down into later periods. So here we have the very fine Hittite-style 2nd millennium vessels in this very highly glossy scarlet look to them from Kultepe. This is around 1700 BC. And you'll notice this very elegant, flaring spout that comes up on these vessels, which probably represents a bird's beak. And as you go through Anatolian history, birds are very important and are often draped over goddesses' heads and are very much integrated into the wine culture. And I have some other examples of this as we go forward. Here you're looking at an artificial mound at Gordian. Gordian is a site that my museum, Penn Museum, excavated back in 1957. And this is a series of artificial layers actually built up to about 150 feet tall. And right at the center of this is a tomb, which is made of logs. This tomb, after they sawed through the log walls, they looked in, just like looking in on the tomb of Tutankhamun. And this is the Midas tumulus. Now it's called that because we think perhaps, King Midas, the king of the Phrygians, was buried there. It could be him or it could be his father, Gordius. And this is dated to about 740 to 700 BC. So we're back 2,700 years ago. This kind of experimentation that was already being carried out by the Phrygians really fits in with the whole concept of wine in Turkey, in my estimation, is that you're not just coming up with grape wine, but you're innovating. You're adding sometimes different herbs and spices to the beverage, and this, in a lot of ways, fits in with ancient medicine. That you don't have synthetic medicines, so you're forced to start taking things from your natural environment. And people are very observant, and they pick out plants like saffron that actually have medical properties. And this Hittite king that's shown here, Shuppiluliumus, he actually came up with the phrase "eat, drink, and be merry." So Hittite culture is very very intense wine culture, and even its gods, like here we have the storm god at a site called Ivriz in south central Turkey, and he's adorned with huge clusters of grapes. And it turns out that eastern Turkey is a very good prospect for the beginnings of viticulture and winemaking. It is an area that has produced some very spectacular sites recently as a result of the dam projects. So like this Novali Chori and Göbekli Tepe are very important. Çayönü had already produced quite a lot of evidence of grape seeds going back to 9,000 BC. And these sites are from the early Neolithic, from about 8,500 down to 6,000 BC. And as you'll see, they're quite incredible sites, which are yielding evidence, I think, of a potential, potentially the wine culture, the earliest wine culture of the Near East. So here you see the dam, and they've come in then and done salvage excavations. This is Navali Chori, which has very good evidence. Now, this doesn't look like a wine growing area today. I mean, this looks, pretty barren, but it does have good soil. The Terra Rossa soil, which is porous and has minerals and is able to nourish grapes. So, this may turn out to be a terroir that can be explored by some of the winemakers in the future. And now, the reason I think that this is the area to look for right here for the earliest winemaking is because we do have artifacts like the ones I've just shown that point to a wine culture emerging in this area maybe as early as 8,000 BC. Now, what is a wine culture? This is sort of a basic question, and I'm sure a lot of people in this room, especially ones who have grown up, let's say, in southern Europe or even parts of Turkey, and now as this whole wine phenomenon develops in Turkey, that you have a culture in which wine really is at the center of all of your activities, from birth to death, ceremonies, drinking and eating at a meal, it's all about wine, and it gets integrated into the culture in a very direct way. And religion, obviously, can play a huge role here. The Hittites, from around 1700 down to 1200 BC, I think exemplify what a Turkish wine culture was all about. If you go to the site of Boğazkale in central Turkey, you'll see palaces that have huge pithoi, or large jars that would have been for wine. And then on the hillsides, we have descriptions from the Hittite period that there were vines covering all the hillsides. An article just appeared in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences like 2 weeks ago by some colleagues up at Cornell University, which again shows, remarkable relationship from grapes in Turkey, in this general area of the Near East, including Georgia too, and Western cultivars, which would then suggest that the original domestication occurred in this region. So as we drink and taste our wines today and ask questions about it, I hope you'll think of the Turkish wines as sort of liquid time capsules that when you take a sip of that wine, it should take you back into the past, back to the Hittites, back to the Neolithic period. And I'll end with that and say, Sharafa. Hope everything goes very well with the tastings.